Diego Mendez. He's also known as the Motivational Esquire. Suddenly creditors are calling. The bank wants answers. The weight of the creditors and debt feels crushing.
When you go see the lawyer, don't ask the lawyer, should I do this?
Yeah.
That's the worst question to ask a lawyer as a business owner, because the lawyer's going to say no.
Yeah.
It's always going to tell you no. But I don't really know the outcome. As you know, if I knew the outcome, I'd be a billionaire. But it is the most American thing that you can do is file bankruptcy.
Yeah.
In some ways.
It's almost patriotic.
It is patriotic.
Okay.
You're
Very
a patriot. Good. It's only money. You can make more money.
What's a hidden talent of yours that would surprise people?
Mind control.
Oh, you have to explain that. It could be the very beginning of your next better chapter. Picture this. You wake up one morning and your world is turned upside down. Maybe you just lost your job overnight, or your business that you put your heart and soul in has just collapsed. Maybe it was COVID. Maybe it was something you had no control over. Suddenly creditors are calling. The bank wants answers. The weight of the creditors and debt feels crushing. It's the kind of moment that feels like a nightmare, like the end of the road. But here's the truth. There is a way of ending this nightmare. It could be the very beginning of your next better chapter. We're filming today from the magnificent showroom from the Global Furniture Group here in the Design District, a magnificent place for designers, contractors, and office owners and managers to see what's available in innovative office and commercial furniture. Friends, I'm Marty Davis, the host of the Marty Davis Show. I'm a business lawyer and entrepreneur. I connect people, and I love doing these podcasts and sharing the expertise that my guests bring to the table. Today's guest is a dear friend and the true guide in the world of financial recovery. Diego Mendez. Diego, thanks for being here. He's also known as the Motivational Esquire. He has his own podcast that's award-winning and does a great job in helping people out of some of the most stressful situations. He's helped thousands navigate their toughest moments, bankruptcy, foreclosure, and serious debt. But that isn't just a career for him, it's a calling. He's here to help people through their toughest times. So if you act wisely in these critical moments, it might be the start of that next better chapter for you. Diego, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Marty, for the invitation.
You know, you're in this daily battle. How do you keep going when the world around you and the clients that you're working with are having some of the worst times of their lives?
Well, for me personally, when a client comes to see me, it feels good that the majority of the time I know I can help them. Mm-hmm. Not always. As an attorney, you can't always help people. Some situations are not solvable. However, the majority of them are, and I know that I've been doing this long enough that if a person comes to see me, I can suggest a path out of their situation, and that feels really good because I know that I've changed a lot of lives. As you know, you're also an attorney. Sometimes we are the most important person in a person's life for that short period of time that we interact with them, and that feels really good.
Yeah, you're truly making a difference, right?
Yes.
Yes. And Diego, you've been doing this for over 20 years.
Almost 20 years. Graduated law school in 2004 at Georgetown and didn't practice immediately. Went off to LA for a little bit to do some other stuff, but eventually came back to the roost and became an attorney here, I think in 2008. So about 18 years now.
18 years, that's great. So you've seen a lot of situations. Yeah. So you've got the experience to help people, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, most people fear bankruptcy or foreclosure, thinking it ruins everything in their lives. What's the biggest misconception about bankruptcy or foreclosure?
There are two different things. A bankruptcy is a voluntary thing that you're taking control of the situation. You're taking the power away from the creditors and you're regaining control of your situation, which is the most powerful part. It's not to be technical or get boring, but it's something called the automatic stay, which what that means is that when you file a bankruptcy, everything has to stop. All litigation, all lawsuits, everything freezes and it gives you a breath. You can step back and say, okay, now what do I do? And it gives you an opportunity to negotiate with your creditors or to figure out, hey, maybe this is just, I just need to sell my stuff, let them sell what I have, and move on with my life. It also gives the creditors an opportunity to see what your real financial situation is, which is very powerful, because sometimes they imagine that you have the house in Bimini and the yacht that gets you there. And when they look at your financials, that's all gone. You might have had the house at some point, but that's gone. And that gives the creditors also an opportunity to pull back and stop spending money on trying to collect against somebody who they can't collect from ever. And regarding foreclosures is an act, something that happens to you. So it's the opposite of a bankruptcy. You don't have control over that. Once you stop paying your house, 4 months of not paying a property, the bank can immediately default you and start a foreclosure proceeding against you. The goal, at least in Florida, you are the owner. The homeowner is the legal owner, and the bank has a lien on the house. It has a collateral. And the goal of foreclosure is to get the house back, sell it at auction, and get money for the bank. There's ways to deal with foreclosure. And the thing in Florida, it takes many, many months, sometimes many years, for foreclosure to go through, which is very beneficial. And you can combine foreclosure with bankruptcy together to try to work out a deal and possibly modify your mortgage and restart payments.
Yeah, because banks don't really want to own property. They want to get paid their loan back as best they can, right?
Yeah, banks don't want to be landlords.
Yeah.
Because the bank then has to pay the property taxes forever. They have to maintain the property. They have to insure the properties. They have to market them. And they don't want to do that.
Sure.
They just want their money. So they'll always, banks, when I say banks, I mean big banks. The majority of the bank, Wells Fargo, Citibank, those big banks, they will most likely attempt to rework your mortgage if they can, if it's possible. And sometimes it's impossible. But the goal is, you're correct. The goal is for the bank, for you to get paying again.
Yeah.
And to keep your home, and for them to get their money. That's all they care about, is the money.
Right. Well, and I'm sure when you have a client come to you and they explain their situation, you need to know, or you do know, what the best way for them to proceed forward because of your experience, whether it's whatever type of bankruptcy there are, or renegotiating things, right? And that's what's so important, what you do first and what you do second, correct?
Yeah. I mean, the amazing part of what I do is sometimes I don't know. I think I know. And as I tell the client, listen, I've seen crazy things. I've taken on clients, I'm like, there's no way this bank's going to do anything. And they do it. And they get a loan modification. They keep their home. They get a better deal. And sometimes, like, yeah, for sure they're going to get it. And the bank refuses, for whatever reason, to do anything. So the point of that is, you got to try.
Right.
Because you don't know. And I don't know. I know the steps. Obviously, I know the law, but I don't really know the outcome. As if I knew the outcome, I'd be a billionaire.
There you go.
Yeah, but I'm not a billionaire.
But you're negotiating all these things, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So perfect. I was watching one of your podcasts, and you were talking about business owners when they get started, they're usually the eternal optimist. When they start their business, they believe, nothing's going to happen. Everything's going to work out beautifully. They've got the best plan. They've got the best product, and even against all odds. What's your top advice for a new entrepreneur when they're moving forward and they look like there might be some issues financially for them, the danger zones that they're approaching that could lead them into bankruptcy, or if it's in the situation of owning a property, of foreclosure?
Well, I'm all for entrepreneurs, and I'm all for the American dream of owning a business. When you go to Europe, the same restaurant that you go to has been in the same family for 200 years. There's no new restaurants, nothing new. In the United States, that's not the way it is. In the United States, there are new businesses constantly opening and closing, and everybody is an optimist. And you should not let that go, because you can't be a business owner and be conservative. You kind of have to be you got to be a risk taker. Now, in terms of how to mitigate that risk or lower the risk, I would say, a couple things. You got to be really judicious on what like if you have a home, I wouldn't take out mortgages on my home to finance a business, because then you lose your home. You lose your business, you lose your home. You want to keep those kind of assets, protected. You obviously need to have the proper paperwork, the proper contracts, the proper corporate structures, all those things, which is, in this day and age with all information out there, and there's a lot of people that specialize in that, you can find people to help you, lawyers like you, Marty, people that do that.
Thank you for the plug. Yes.
Well, that's what we're here for. The more money you want to put into business, the more help you need. If you're just going to open a little stand, even a little stand, you should have a little bit of advice before,
Sure.
because you never know what will come of it. But my number one thing is don't lose that optimism, because that's going to get you through a lot.
Yeah.
Because there's dark days when you own a business. I'm a business owner. You're a business owner. There are dark days. Even when you're making money, there are dark days,
Yeah.
and in order to survive those dark days, you need to be an optimist.
So, yeah. No, I agree with you. And that it's so important to be a risk taker, because you have to move forward. And that's why so many businesses fail, that people maybe hadn't evaluated that risk or looked at how much money they really needed to start the business, right?
Yeah. When you go see the lawyer, don't ask the lawyer, should I do this?
Yeah.
That's the worst question to ask a lawyer as a business owner, because the lawyer's going to say no.
Yeah.
It's always going to tell you no.
Yeah.
Because the lawyers are not risk takers. I mean, at least not for their clients. They're not going to help you risk. But so don't ask the lawyer that. Ask them, am I doing this properly or this? But don't ask them, should I do this? What is your opinion? The lawyer's going to say, don't do it.
Yeah.
Go home with your money.
Right. What's the safest thing? Well, yes, go home.
Exactly.
Put it in the mattress. No one can hurt
true.
you then, right?
Yeah.
So, many owners don't want to admit when they start to have some financial problems and the numbers are beginning to turn against them. In your experience, what's the warning signs that business owners should be made aware of that, gee, you've got some issues, it's early, let's take a look at them and see what we can do to change things?
I think the number one red flag is when you're paying debt with debt. If you're paying debt with debt, meaning that you're taking loans out to pay old loans, unless you're refinancing that old loan, but if you're keeping that old loan and you have a new loan, and you're using the money from the new loan to make the payments on the old loan, you're in trouble.
Yeah, you're robbing Peter to pay Paul, right?
You're not doing anything. You're just churning money. You're just losing money like crazy. And people don't look at it like that. People don't look at, the interest is that, but that's when it's over.
Yeah.
That's the first step. Most people, when you do that, that's when that first engine on the airplane goes out, and you're like, whoa, and you don't know if that's going to crash. It's going to crash.
Yeah.
You're not going to make it out of that situation. So when they offer you that nice, easy money, that free money, that there's a lot of companies out there that are vultures, that will offer you like factoring. Factoring loans, in my opinion, are horrible. Factoring loans is when they basically give you money based on what you're going to make in the future, and they give you, some of them are daily, so every single day you have to pay them. Some of them are weekly, so every week you have to pay them.
Yeah, and the interest rates are high, right?
Huge interest rates. There's no usury laws, meaning there's no limits on what the interest rates can be in a commercial deal. In Florida, it's 18% for people, but it's not for businesses, so you can have 80% interest. There's no law against it.
It's like borrowing against your credit cards.
Exactly.
Same story.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the number one thing.
And if you had a client in that position and they're thinking about borrowing that money, what's the advice to the business owner?
Well, I'm not a financial planner. I'm not a financial person. But regarding what I've seen and the experience I've had is don't do that, number one. You got to figure out what you're doing wrong. I guess you got to step back and say, is this business even viable anymore? Like, should I be doing this anymore? Sometimes, because you can use bankruptcy to try to renegotiate debts, but you can also use it to liquidate, and you can say, I can't do this anymore, but I own a vehicle. The business has a building, a vehicle. You can do what's called a Chapter 7, which I do not advise doing that. And I'll tell you that why in a second. But you can liquidate, you can sell. A trustee comes in and sells all the assets of the business and pays the creditors. The reason I'm telling you not to do that, because one of the assets of the business is the money that the business has paid the owners over the last 4 years. So you put yourself in a situation that as the owner, you're trying to do right, but then the trustee sues you to get the money back that the
Okay.
business paid you. So you got to be real careful if you're doing that. Like I would think 30 times. I don't do Chapter 7. Business Chapter 7s are one of the worst decisions you can make. But I guess they're appropriate in some situations, but most of them are not.
And I suppose that a lot of those small businesses that get in trouble, there's a lot of money that went to the business owner through the years, and so whether it was paying personal bills or whatever, and all that stuff, is all that included in that clawback period?
Well, no, it's not every penny, and it's not. If you paid yourself a reasonable salary, it's probably okay.
Uh-huh.
But the second they start saying, this, you took a dividend or you took a draw of an extra $20,000-$30,000 because you needed to go to that, that Vegas trip with your wife,
Yeah.
or, with your husband, then that's what they look at. So, oh yeah, the business was failing, but you took $20K and went off to Napa Valley,
Right.
or the south of France, and guess what? That money now they'll get it back from you.
Yeah.
And it's a tough situation.
It's a tough one, yeah.
Yeah.
Many businesses during COVID and right after took out these SBA loans and the EIDL loans. They may be paying them back, but perhaps the economy shifted a little bit, either in general or for the business itself. So some can't keep up with those payments. What options do business owners have to who can't repay those loans?
Well, it depends on the circumstance of the business, and really it depends if the business has collateral or not. If the business has things of value like buildings or vehicles, it depends on what kind of business. In my opinion, I split it into two types of business. There's service businesses like lawyers, doctors, accountants. Those people are services for the most part. Some
Right.
doctors have machines, but put that aside. If they don't have any machines, then it's just them. It's just their license, right? If you took out an EIDL loan, then there's no collateral. So, and an EIDL loan is a 30-year note. So that means for 30 years, you're paying back the U.S. government, $500,000 is $3,000 a month. So
Yeah.
if you're a 50-year-old man that took a $500,000 EIDL loan, you're paying till you're 80 years old.
Right.
So what can you do with that? You can file bankruptcy on that, get rid of it. It's dischargeable.
Mm-hmm.
The business, you can shut the business down and file bankruptcy, get rid of it. I don't want to get too technical, but quite frankly, the SBA doesn't sue anybody in those situations. But what they do is they'll take, I think, 25% of your SSI when you retire, and you'll never get a refund, basically, for the rest of your life. They take that, and then when you retire, they take 25% of your retirement.
Social Security? Wow.
And that's it. So it's not the end of the world.
Right, yeah, and that could be a whole lot smaller than what the real bill was.
Yeah, I'm not telling people not to pay that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying don't pay. That's not what I'm saying. But if you can't pay, then you can't pay.
Yeah, right. So these are dire solutions.
Yeah.
It's not just you decided you didn't want to pay that person.
And one thing that people don't know, that any EIDL loan that's under $150,000 is not personally guaranteed. So it's just a business.
Yeah.
So you really don't even have to file bankruptcy for that. Personal
go.
bankruptcy.
Very good.
Yeah.
Okay, good. And is that the same for, in an SBA loan, does the underlying bank go after it, or is it just the SBA that takes over those loans?
Well, people that know about SBA loans, the SBA, old style, pre-COVID SBA was a bank loan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they guaranteed a portion of it, right?
Yes. So Citibank or whatever gives you an SBA loan, right, for your business.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to go through a ton of background checks, and you have business plan, and they check your collateral, your personal credit, all that stuff. COVID loans were signature loans based on nothing. All you had to do is, I think you just had to submit maybe a bank statement or a couple months bank statements and your taxes, and they gave you $500,000. In some cases, $1 million, $2 million, whatever. The EIDL loans are direct from the government. They don't go through a bank. That's why they don't sue you.
Oh, okay.
It's a direct payment from the SBA Treasury to the business owner. There's no bank in the middle. That had never happened before.
Mm-hmm.
EIDL are emergency loans. They're based on like natural disasters. That's
right. Which is COVID. Yeah.
Exactly. So it used to be a hurricane would come through, And those, yeah, they would give you, 10 grand because you had to pay your rent or whatever. But that was it. And these huge monster loans, $500,000, $1 million, $150,000, those were all COVID money, just the wave of COVID money that came out. It put a lot of people in bad situations, because now they owe that money for 30 years.
Right.
Yeah.
Ugh. A lot of owners worry about losing everything if they file bankruptcy, including their homes and personal assets. What protection or strategies do you use to protect some of the assets, or if that's available at all?
In Florida, you have the number one most powerful creditor protection. Well, a couple of them, but the number one most powerful creditor protection you have here is the homestead. It's unlimited homestead protection from creditors, meaning that if you live in the property and your house is worth $10 million and you live in it, they can't touch it. No creditor other than the bank. The bank
holds the mortgage on the property.
And there's a couple little other exceptions for like people that work on your home. But in general, a credit card, you get in a car accident, they sue you. All these other types of creditors cannot attach to your home.
Okay.
So you want to have as much money as you can in your home because that's your number one protection. Your 401k is protected, so they can't touch that. Any kind of retirement account. If you're married and you have property owned jointly with your spouse, then that's also protected. As long as you're married and your spouse is alive, then that's only for one of the spouses. So if it's only the husband or one of the spouses is the one that has the debt, they can't get the house of bimini because the house of bimini belongs to the husband and husband.
Wow, okay.
So the two spouses, own this jointly and it's protected. I guess there's value in being married.
There you go. Absolutely. What's the most important advice that you can give a business owner who's anxious about making that next SBA payment? What's the first step they should take before things get worse?
I mean, I'm not going to tell people not to pay their SBA loans because that's not my role.
Yeah.
And my role is to I'm not going to advise people to do that. However, you have to understand the nature of these loans we talked about. If there's no collateral attached to it, they're unsecured loans that they can't really do anything about. I mean, it's very limited with the recourse they have. You have to weigh, the moral question of paying back what you owe, and then the practical, that we only live once and you got to pay your stuff. And I'm hoping that someday, in my opinion, they're going to forgive all those loans because they were given out in a situation where people were desperate. They grabbed whatever they could. The interesting thing about EIDL loans, it wasn't like, oh, I only need 100,000 or like they would say, here's 150 or here's $500,000. Like you couldn't take less. You know what I mean? I don't think you could take. I don't know. I don't know. Actually, I don't want to say it 100% conclusively, but I'm pretty sure you could not take less. So here's $500,000. Have fun. A lot of people got in bad situations because of that. So to answer your question, should they pay their loan? Yes, until you can't. And then when you can't, you come see me or see somebody like me.
Right.
And then we deal with it.
What mistakes do people make if they're in that situation and don't come to a professional like you?
Well, one of the big things is taking that money and buying personal things. That's the problem. Okay, it's dischargeable as long as you used it for your business. It's still dischargeable if you use it for non-business related stuff. However, it's going to be a big problem for you. Okay, because bankruptcy is for the honest debtor. It's literally in the statute. Okay, for the unfortunate but honest debtor. And if you took that money and bought a house with the money and then you try to file bankruptcy on that SBA loan, it's going to come out what you did with the money, and then you're going to have a problem with the court, and they might dismiss your case because you are not, in their opinion, honest. You might be a totally honest person, but that one act to them makes you ineligible for a discharge.
Okay.
So that's what you got to be careful of. So if you took that money and started buying a bunch of personal things, then you might run into a problem if you file bankruptcy. Now, if you use it for the business and the business failed, well, then you're probably home. You're probably home free.
Okay. Let's talk about transformation. Can you give us a story or an example about a client or someone you've heard about who turned things around after bankruptcy or foreclosure?
Oh, so many. Like that's the norm. The norm is that people use that opportunity to rebuild their lives, to buy new properties, to buy homes, to fix their family situation. I mean, remember, having that debt is not just a line on a spreadsheet. You know, it affects families, it affects marriages, it affects children, it affects everything. And then when you file bankruptcy, it's all gone. It all stops. You know, and now you can, okay, I can plan for something else. I can, you know, even if you lose your house in a bankruptcy or in a foreclosure, you can always buy another one.
Yeah.
You know, it might take a little while, but, you know, and also it's kind of, the law is kind of ingenious in that sometimes you literally can't afford this thing that you own. So you shouldn't have it.
Right.
You know? And the law says, okay, we're going to let you walk away from it without having to pay anything, and we'll give you the opportunity to start over. I mean, bankruptcy, remember, the United States was founded by debtors. The United States was founded by two groups of people: pilgrims, which were religious people who were fleeing religious persecution in England, and people who were fleeing debt.
Oh.
Because in England, they used to put you in jail.
Right.
If you owed money,
debtor's prison. Yeah.
debtor's prison. In the Constitution, there's only two things that are mentioned, like laws. One of them being bankruptcy. Okay, it's actually in the Constitution. So the whole point of the United States, we exist because of people fleeing debt. So you know, it is the most American thing that you can do is file bankruptcy.
Yeah.
In some ways.
It's almost patriotic then.
It is patriotic. You're a patriot.
Very good. And, well, it does give people the fresh start, and it's got to make you feel good when you can help people do that.
Absolutely.
And what's the final advice that you'd have for someone out there who's scared or maybe embarrassed to seek your help?
Well, you shouldn't be embarrassed because, again, we only live once. And one of the things I've learned doing this and dealing with lots and lots of people is that these are just moments in a person's life. You know, this is just a moment, just like any other moment.
Yeah.
It's just a bad moment, right? But if you take control of your situation and you file bankruptcy or you try to resolve it, this moment will pass. It's true. All things pass, and this will pass. And so embarrassment is just, honestly, just get over it, because you're not, I mean, I don't know how else to put it, but that's the truth. Just get over it. Put that aside. And what was the second question? I'm sorry.
No, that's the advice, whether they're embarrassed or scared. And
being scared is a very human emotion, obviously, and we are fear the unknown. I think if you hire somebody that knows what they're doing and they explain to you, you know, what's going to happen, then you shouldn't be afraid, because you kind of know how it's going to go. My favorite clients are the ones that I tell them, listen, this is going to cost you whatever, $20,000, not in fees, but you're going to have to pay your creditors $20,000. You owe them $1 million, but based on what you have, based on your property, your car, whatever the money you have, it's $20,000. My favorite clients would say, bring me the thing to sign today, because we need to do this yesterday. Because $20,000 to get rid of $1 million and I get a fresh start, who's not going to take that?
Right, yeah, no.
You know? So you shouldn't be afraid. And in the end of all of this, and people don't like when I say this, but I'm going to say it, I don't care. It's only money. Okay?
Yeah.
We're not talking about...
It's not your life, your family, yeah.
You're not talking about going to jail. There's no jail for this. There's no, you know, you're not going to go to the hospital. No one's going to kill you. This is money. And guess what? We live in the United States, which means you can make more money. If in other places you don't make more money, but here we make more money. So just use this time to rebuild your life and go make more money and have a great time.
Well, and I'm sure if they stay in status quo, it's just going to get worse for them.
It gets worse.
And maybe to the point where you can't help them, right?
It gets worse, and it destroys families. It destroys marriages. It truly destroys marriages. So I think it's the number one reason people get divorced. It's not infidelity. It's financial problems. Yeah. Don't let this destroy your marriage. Yeah. You know, you can get out of it. You can fix it. Yeah.
Well, let's help everyone get to know the Motivational Esquire on more of a, maybe a personal level here, Diego. I always like to end our interviews with some rapid fire questions.
Sure.
because it's important, I think, for people watching a podcast to get to know the people who are on the podcast, not just for what they know, but for who they are.
Sure.
So I'd like you to answer these, and just the first thing that comes to mind. Are you a morning person, or do you come alive at night?
I'm a 100% morning person.
What's a hidden talent of yours that would surprise people?
Mind control.
Oh, you have to explain that.
I thought it was rapid fire.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, until I got mind control. I love it.
Not that I control minds, but like I said, I've talked to so many people that I kind of know where things are going to go in terms of a conversation, especially a professional conversation. So I know how to steer people to where they need to be in situations where they realize what's best for them. So that when I say mind control, I mean that I know I've heard it all. I've heard it all plus more than all. So when you tell me your problem, I know where it's going to end up. And if you listen to me, you're probably going to be all right.
Very good. No, what a valuable trait. Yeah. As a business owner, what's your greatest fear?
As a business owner, my greatest fear would be to run out of money. Money, it's really the brass tacks, cash control, making sure that the money is there, that the money is flowing properly, that you have backups, you have reserves. That's your business owner needs. You need money, you need reserves. You can't open a business with no money. And when your company is operating, you need to save money for the rainy day. That is going to come because it rains everywhere in the world, even in the Mojave Desert, it rains.
Yeah.
And it will rain in your business at some point.
Yeah. Good advice. What achievement makes you the most proud?
My family is an immigrant family, and I rose from that to go to one of the top colleges and top law school in the United States.
Yeah.
And opened my own business here in Miami and kept my law license for the last 18 years, which is not that easy in Miami to do, but I did it. And I fed, dozens of employees. I fed myself. I haven't taken a paycheck in 20 years. So that's my greatest achievement, being completely self-sufficient.
Great. And finally, after a tough week, what is your go-to guilty pleasure? That you can
right now,
about?
I think it's Earl's World Center happy hour.
Very good.
The best happy hour in Miami.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Very good. Well, Earl should be appreciating that plug. So, in the Miami Center downtown, right?
Downtown, best one.
Very good. Every day of the week?
Every day, I think from 5 to 7, and then they have a second happy hour from 10 to midnight. So if you're out and about, you go there at 10 o'clock and you get a half price everything and food for super cheap. Two people can eat and drink for $100.
Very good.
Less.
Oh, that's great for downtown Miami.
Yeah.
And so if our listeners are looking for a drink or maybe a quick piece of advice, Diego will be there.
I'll be there.
Yes. All right. Very good.
I'll be there today.
There you go. Diego, thanks for opening up and sharing some of these powerful stories. You remind us that, every ending is just the start of a new chapter, and that even the toughest moments can turn into something really good and a second opportunity. For everybody listening, remember, no setback has the final say. If you're looking for more hope, strategies, and wisdom, see the Motivational Esquire here. Diego is on a journey to help people, on a journey to be successful. And until next time, I'm Marty Davis, reminding you that your story is still being written and there's always a brighter tomorrow. Thank you for being here, Diego. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Marty.
Great to have you.
Always great to see you.